Let me ask you a very simple question. When you ripped open your property tax bill this year, did your stomach instantly drop? Did you look at that massive number and think, wait a minute, I paid off this house 15 years ago. I worked my whole life to own these four walls. Why am I still paying rent to the government? Well, if you're 65 or older, listen up, because you are being quietly robbed. Not by some guy in a ski mask, but by bureaucrats sitting in your local county assessor's office in broad daylight. And the crazy part, you're letting them do it. Stick with me until the end of this video because I'm going to show you exactly how to stop this. Right now, there are hundreds of millions of dollars in senior property tax freeze exemptions just sitting there, totally unclaimed. We're talking about an average of $1,200 a year. Over a 10-year retirement, that is 20 grand of your hard-earned cash, literally evaporating into thin air. Money that should belong to you. That's your grocery money. That's your Medicare Part B premiums. That's the cash to fix that leaking roof. So why are you losing it? Because the county absolutely did not want to tell you about it. Makes sense, right? They didn't mail you a giant red envelope saying, "Happy 65th birthday, here's your massive tax discount." Nope. They slipped a dense, completely unreadable piece of fine print onto the back of a random notice. Or worse, they buried a PDF link on page 4 of a local government website that looks like it was coded back in 1998. Look, I've been an investigative journalist and a senior advocate for 30 years. Let me be super real with you. I know exactly how this dirty game is played. I've sat in the back of city council meetings. I've interviewed former tax assessors. They are using your money. Your property taxes are literally the lifeblood of local politicians. That cash funds the bloated administrative pensions of county officials. And over the last few years, real estate prices went completely insane. You know this. Your home value on paper might have doubled, but you and I both know that doesn't mean you have actual cash in your pocket. You can't slice off a piece of your living room drywall and hand it to the cashier at Publix to buy bread. But to the tax assessor, your inflated home value is just a giant ATM. When your assessed value goes up, your tax bill skyrockets. But did your Social Security check double? It barely nudged, right? You are getting completely squeezed out of your own home. Now, every state knows that taxing seniors out into the street is terrible PR. So they quietly passed laws creating the age 65 property tax freeze. This is the holy grail. It literally locks in your assessment value or tax rate the exact year you apply. But here's the kicker. If your home value doubles over the next 10 years, it does not matter. Your bill stays anchored to the past. So why doesn't the county just give it to you automatically? They have your driver's license. They know exactly how old you are. Here is the dark truth. If every single eligible senior claimed this freeze tomorrow, local municipalities would face a massive catastrophic budget crisis overnight. They literally rely on your ignorance to fund their pet projects. I call it willful obscurity. They make the forms just confusing enough so you give up and write the check. Well, those days are over starting right now. Grab a pen and a piece of paper because we are about to move into the master plan. I'm going to break down exactly how you qualify, the hidden checkboxes you need to find, and how to beat them at their own game. Okay, let's jump straight into phase 1, the qualification game. To get your hands on a senior tax exemption or freeze, there are usually 3 hurdles you got to jump over. First up is age. Usually the magic number is 65. Sometimes it's 61, depending on exactly where you live, but 65 is the golden ticket. Second, ownership. The home must be your primary residence. You can't pull this off, on a rental property or a summer cabin. Your name has to be on the deed on January 1st of that tax year. And third, this is where it gets super tricky, is the income limit. Some states hand this out to every single senior, no matter how much bank they make. But a lot of states put a strict ceiling on the freeze. And how they actually calculate that income, that right there is where you either win or lose. They don't just peek at your Social Security check, they look at your household adjusted gross income. Now let's get into the weeds here. I'm going to walk you through two different states right now to show you exactly how this bureaucracy operates. Let's start with Texas. Texas has some of the highest property taxes in the whole country because guess what? They don't have a state income tax. But Texas also has one of the absolute best senior protections out there if you actually know how to demand it. It's called the age 65 or older exemption and the school tax ceiling. The second you turn 65 in Texas, you're entitled to an immediate 10 grand, knocked off your home's assessed value for school taxes, plus whatever extra your county throws in. But here is the real magic trick: the school tax ceiling. Once you qualify, your school taxes, which make up more than half your bill, can never, ever go up again. Period. Even if you completely remodel your kitchen or add a giant sunroom, your school tax amount is permanently frozen at the exact dollar amount you paid in your 65th year. But, and this is a massive but, you have to file Form 50-114. Write that down right now. Form 50-114. It's the application for residence homestead exemption. Now here's the dirty little trick the county pulls on page 1 of that form. In Section 3, there's a tiny series of checkboxes. One says General Residence Homestead, and right next to it, almost practically invisible, is age 65 or older. You must check that specific box. If you just check the general box, boom, you lose the freeze entirely. And here's a pro tip specifically for my Texans. You don't even have to wait until next year if you just turned 65. You can apply for this exemption up to 1 full year after the date you turned 65. And by law, they have to retroactively refund you the difference. I am not kidding about this. I have literally seen folks get checks for $2 grand mailed straight back to them because they pushed the assessor on this retroactive rule. All right, now let's travel over to Florida. Florida is a completely different animal, and it perfectly exposes how local politicians play games with your hard-earned cash. Florida has the famous Save Our Homes cap, which limits assessment hikes. But they also have a specific senior exemption that can wipe an additional $50,000 off your home's assessed value. You heard that right, $50,000. But here is the massive catch. The Florida state government made this thing a local option. What does that mean? It means the state allows it, but your local county commissioners or city council actually have to vote to adopt it. And trust me, a lot of counties just choose not to. Why? Because they want your tax dollars to fund their own budgets. If your county does actually offer it, you need Form DR-501SC. That is the adjusted gross income for household form. Write it down. Florida puts a strict income limit on this. For 2024, your household income got to be below roughly 36 grand, but here is the massive loophole that Florida seniors miss every single day. Listen closely. The form asks for adjusted gross income. Do you know what absolutely does not count toward your adjusted gross income in Florida for this specific exemption? Tax-exempt interest, and way more importantly, the non-taxable portion of your Social Security benefits. I've seen widows look at their total bank deposits, think they make 45 grand a year, and just throw the damn form straight in the trash. But when you strip out the non-taxable Social Security, their actual AGI is only like 25 grand, putting them well under the limit. Never disqualify yourself in your own head. Make them do the math. Now let's look up north at Illinois. If you live there, you already know Illinois property taxes are notoriously brutal. To combat this, they have the Senior Citizens Assessment Freeze Homestead Exemption. The magic paperwork you need here is Form PTAX-340. Write that down, PTAX-340. In Illinois, this freeze literally locks in your property's equalized assessed value. It essentially stops the clock on your home's value for tax purposes. To get it, your total household income must be 65 grand or less. But the Illinois bureaucrats make you jump through some insane hoops. You have to reapply every single year. You cannot just file it once and forget about it like you do in Texas. And let me be real with you, they do this entirely on purpose. They are desperately hoping that when you hit 78 or 80 years old, You might just forget or get sick or lose the paperwork in the mail. And the absolute second you miss a single year, your taxes unfreeze and immediately shoot up to current market rates. You'll get a bill in the mail that will literally make your heart stop. You absolutely must treat. Put it on your calendar for every single spring. Do not let them win. Now, what happens if you live in a state with an income limit and you do the math and your pension puts you exactly $500 over the line? Do you just throw your hands up and give up? Absolutely not. This is where we move to. Plan B. These are the gray areas of the tax code that the assessor will never, ever tell you about over the phone. If you are just slightly over the income threshold, you need to look at allowable deductions to aggressively reduce your countable income. Many states, when calculating your income for the senior freeze, actually allow you to deduct out-of-pocket medical expenses. I'm talking about the massive bills that Medicare didn't cover. Did you pay out-of-pocket for dental implants last year? Did you have to drop thousands on expensive hearing aids? Did you pay for a visiting nurse or modify your bathroom for a wheelchair? Add it all up. And even more common, you need to look at your Medicare Part B and Part D premiums. Those premiums are yanked straight out of your Social Security check before you ever even see the money, right? Many seniors mistakenly report their gross Social Security amount. But in certain jurisdictions, you can legally argue that your out-of-pocket health insurance premiums should be fully deducted from your household income calculation. This is huge. So if you get a rejection letter saying you make too much money, you do not just accept it. You march straight down to the county assessor's office. You bring your pharmacy receipts, your hospital bills, and your Medicare premium statements, and you look them in the eye. You tell them, I want to appeal my income calculation based on unreimbursed medical expenses. Here's the crazy part. Half the time, the clerk sitting at the front desk doesn't even know the actual legal statute. They just hit a button on a computer and say, no, you have to be your own fierce advocate. You look at them and say, let me speak to the senior appraiser. You stand your ground because nobody else is going to fight for your money. But listen closely, because we now have to talk about the dark side of all this. We are entering the danger zone. I'm giving you a massive trap warning right now. Because wherever there is government bureaucracy and vulnerable seniors, there are always hidden traps, and there are always vultures circling. You need to listen to this next part as if your actual home depends on it, because let me be real with you, it literally does. Trap number one is the government's very own poison pill, the property tax deferral. When you go to the county website looking for some tax relief, they will often try to aggressively steer you toward a senior tax deferral program instead of an actual exemption or a freeze. A deferral sounds absolutely amazing on paper, right? They pat you on the back and say, hey, don't worry about paying your property taxes this year, just defer them. You don't have to pay us a single dime right now. Let me make this perfectly clear. A deferral is not free money. A deferral is a straight-up predatory loan given to you by your own local government. When you defer your taxes, the county secretly places a silent lien on your house, and they don't just politely hold that debt. They charge compounding interest on it. Sometimes it's 5%, sometimes it's 8% a year, just ticking up endlessly. So you defer your $5,000 tax bill. Next year, it's $10,000 plus interest. 5 years go by, 10 years go by, you pass away peacefully, thinking you are leaving your kids a beautiful paid-off home. But when your kids finally go to settle the estate, they find out the county holds a $70,000 lien against the house. They literally have to sell your family home just to pay off the tax assessor. An exemption or a freeze permanently reduces the tax you owe. It is your money. A deferral is a toxic loan that completely steals your family's inheritance. Never, ever sign a document that says tax deferral without understanding that you are signing away your hard-earned equity. If the assessor tries to hand you a deferral form, you slide it right back across the desk and say, no, I want the application for the permanent age 65 exemption. Trap number two is the mail scammers. Honestly, This infuriates me more than anything else we've talked about. You have to remember that property tax records are entirely public. Anyone on the internet can look up your exact age, your home address, and exactly what you owe the government. So right around tax season, you are going to get a letter in the mail. And it is going to look incredibly official. It might have a fancy barcode on it. It might say something scary like County Property Tax Records Department or Board of Assessment Review. The letter will tell you, notice, you are eligible for a senior property tax reduction. Then it says to process your paperwork and secure your funds, remit a processing fee of $149. Throw it straight in the shredder. These are predatory third-party companies. They are not the government. What they are doing is legally borderline, but highly unethical. If you send them that check, all they do is print out the exact same free form I just told you about, mail it to you, and tell you to sign it. Do not ever pay a single dollar to apply for a senior property tax exemption. The forms are 100% free. The filing is 100% free. If anyone asks you for a credit card number, or a check to lower your property taxes, they are totally scamming you. You deal directly with your local county assessor's office and absolutely no one else. Got it? Okay, we are down to the wire. Let's talk about execution. Because knowledge without action is just entertainment, and I am definitely not here to just entertain you. I am here to help you protect your fortress. Here is your execution list, your exact Monday morning action plan. Task number 1. Tonight, I want you to go into your filing cabinet and pull out your most recent property tax bill. I want you to look at the line items. Look closely for the words assessed value, exemptions, or deductions. If you only see a standard homestead exemption, but you absolutely do not see the word senior, age 65, or freeze, you are actively losing money right now. Task number 2, tomorrow morning at exactly 9 a.m., you're going to pick up the telephone and call your county tax assessor's office. You're not going to be meek about this. You're going to be polite, but extremely firm. Here is your exact script. Grab that pen and write this down right now. Hello. My name is John Smith. I am a homeowner in this county, and I am over the age of 65. I am calling to verify that I am receiving the maximum senior citizen property tax exemption and the assessment freeze available by law. Can you confirm what senior exemptions are currently applied to my parcel number? Now, they might brush you off and say, well, sir, you have to apply for that. And you reply, understood. Please mail me the physical application form today and tell me what specific income documentation I need to include. Do not let them just tell you to go online if you are not totally comfortable with computers. By law, they have to provide physical paper forms if you request them. When that form finally arrives, you fill it out in blue ink. You make a photocopy of it for your own personal records. You do not mail the original back. You put it in a folder. You drive down to the county courthouse or the assessor's office. You hand it directly to the clerk, and you ask them for a stamped receipt proving the exact date you turned it in. Bureaucrats lose paperwork all the time. Do not let them lose yours. Look, I know this sounds exhausting. I know dealing with government forms is literally the last thing you want to do in your retirement. But think about what you are actually fighting for here. $1,200 a year. $2,000 a year. Over the rest of your life, this is the equivalent of buying a brand new car, or paying for all your out-of-pocket medical needs, or taking your grandkids on a vacation they will remember forever. Let me be clear, this is not a handout. You paid into this system for 40 years. You funded the schools when your kids were in them. You paid for the roads. You paid the salaries of the exact people sitting in those county offices right now. Now it is your turn to claim the protection the law actually affords you. They don't want you to know about it because they want to keep spending your money. Take a stand this week. Audit your tax bill. Make that phone call. If this information opened your eyes, if it made you realize that you have to fight for what is yours, I need you to do two things. First, share this video with every single homeowner you know who is over the age of 60. Send it to your neighbors. Talk about it at church. Bring it up at the diner. We have to look out for each other because the government certainly isn't going to do it for us. Second, hit that subscribe button below. I am dedicating my time to digging through the fine print, reading the IRS publications, and decoding the bureaucratic jargon so you don't have to. I am going to keep bringing you the hard truths and the exact steps you need to protect your retirement, your savings, and your dignity. Don't let them nickel and dime you got out of your own home. Get your paperwork together, make the call, and claim what is rightfully yours. Stay sharp, stay vigilant, and I will see you in the next investigation.